Hi, it's Gareth here from Switch School Limited again. We're here with the first of the tutorial videos that we're going to be doing, and we're starting from the very beginning, which is putting the 3-pin plug on. I say this is the very beginning because when I'm interviewing people to come for an engineer's job, I give them a piece of flex, a plug, and I give them some crimps as well, and I ask them to put that on. What I'll do is I'll leave them alone for 10 minutes, I'll go make a brew, so they're not under pressure, and it gives them the chance to make sure they're doing it properly. Now, the amount of people that we get in that can't put a plug on properly, the amount of people we get that put a plug on extremely badly is unbelievable. My theory is that if you cannot put a plug on perfectly, then when it comes to the more technical stuff, you're going to really struggle. So this needs to be perfect. In the interview stage for me, from your point of view, that should be perfect. It is a basic requirement for somebody to do electrical work. Even though most cables now have got moulded plugs on, it just shows that you've got the skill to be able to do it when you do need to do it. It shows that you've got the ability to route cables properly, to cut them properly, to crimp them properly. So when you're inside that machine, whatever it is you do as a service business, we look after cleaning machines, but whenever you're inside that machine, we know that if you're doing that properly, you can be routing cables properly, crimping them, and making sure that the job's done as it should be, with integrity, with reliability. So we'll get on to putting this plug on. I'll show you the tools that we use, and I'll show you my technique. My technique's not necessarily the right one. There's a lot of different techniques out there. You find out what's best for you, but if you just follow a few basic pointers, you get it right every time. Right, here we have a range of tools that I make available to engineers that come in for interviews. We've got screwdrivers, snips, various wire strippers, crimpers, plug, flex, crimps. First thing, clean working space. Strip the plug down and you've got a clean working space. If you do drop anything such as these little screws that come out of the terminals, really easy to find. Take the cable clamp off. This cable clamp works in two ways. You have it that way up in the plug if you've got a thicker cable such as the 1.5 that we use. You can turn it around and clamp it on the bottom if you've got some thin flat twin wire or just some 0.75mm wire. Undo these screws. Get your piece of flex. Now these wire strippers are absolutely fantastic. You can see if you go anti-clockwise for minimum pressure, clockwise for maximum pressure, slide that over your flex. You would measure that off. The plugs normally come with a bit of a card on the plug, but I've lost that. Twist that around twice and it comes off nice and neat. And what you need to do is just make sure you've not gone through that inner insulation, and that's why we always go in an anti-clockwise direction, because it gives minimum pressure. So you cut this to length for your particular plug. There's a few different plugs out there, a few different lengths that you need. So we're going to go roughly there. Two options for wire strippers. We can use this type, strips it like that, or we've got this type here. This is a middle aisle special, works quite well. You can crimp your wires in there, take the insulation off. Because it's a 1.5mm cable, just twist the ends so that it's nice and neat. If you're using 1mm or below, I'd recommend doubling it up. I'm going to slot that in there, making sure it's nice and neat. Tighten that screw up. And when you're in that position, put your cable clamp on, as I explained, that side down, because we've got 3-core 1.5mm flex going into the plug. There we go, nice and tight on the outer insulation. Give it a test. Now the way I tend to do this is with snips, because that's just the way that I've done it forever, really. In you go. Don't do what I've just done there. Get it wrapped up nice and neat. Push it through, no strands sticking out. Nice and tight on that one. So we're looking nice and neat. And then what you want to do is trim this one last. Use your wire strippers, use your snips, use whatever you're comfortable with. Probably get a lot of stick for this sticking out here. But as I've explained, when you're doing it through a camera, it is very difficult, which I'm finding out on this first tutorial, so we'll probably have some different views on the next one. Nice and neat, make sure it's not over the screw top. Now, when you come to put this back on, I've seen people that get stuck squeezing it, they're crimping it down. If it doesn't go on nice and easily like that, you've got something trapped somewhere. You should never have to force anything shut. You should never have to force covers shut. One nice neat plug. And then what I do on the interviews, get them to come through and put some crimps on the end. Again, turn it around. Make sure you haven't caught. Bear the wires back. A little bit more on that one, I think. Twist it together. What I tend to do is get the crimp and just locate it there so it's a bit easier. Put your wire in so it's just poking out, and then give it a good squeeze. Now, the one thing that has, if my old engineer is watching this, Mark, he's going to probably agree with this one, but this is what won him the job over. When he put the crimp on, he did that. And the other person that it was up against didn't. And then when I did that, when they'd left, the crimp actually came off. So, good engineer with Mark. He tested that. I won't bore you doing the other ones. But that's a quick tutorial. Make sure you absolutely nail this. This is basic skills that you should be able to do if you're doing electrical work, if you're doing repairs on machinery. We'll get into the testing side of things later on, but nail that one for us. Job's a good one.